So for step 4, the rear suspension, well, you can see here that we're actually adding a spring, which is this guy right here, which is actually going to allow you to increase or decrease the tension in the suspension. And you can see here that the diagram they're showing you, if you turn it to the left, it's a softer suspension. You turn it to the right, it gets harder. And once this whole trike is built, you will be able to adjust this on the fly. So depending on how it's operating, you'll be able to kind of figure it out and tweak it the way that you like. So it's kind of an interesting design. So I've pulled together all of the pieces we need, the screws, the Allen key, the grub screw there, the spring, and then these funky weird pieces. The one thing to make note of though, because this is to do with the tensioning, do make sure you get off the little burbs. So off the parts tree, make sure you clean it up, and which I've done. I don't know if you can see there, but I've cleaned it up so that there's nothing going to grab when it's inside that gearbox. So I'll set this up and let's put this together. So first off, if you look at the diagram, it's showing that the grub screw needs to fit inside this piece right here, A5. And you can see if you took a look at the, kind of match it to the look of the diagram, this grub screw needs to be screwed into the hole, and the end is going to be basically it's going to be level with the end. So essentially it should come out at the top here. So because they're wanting to do it first, what I like to do is get the grub screw onto the Allen key right off the bat. And now I'm going to start screwing it in. And I want to make sure that it's going in level, and I think I've pretty much got it correct already. So I'm going to screw this in. I'm just going to keep checking to make sure that I have, yes. And we're going to get this as level as we can. Yeah, pretty much there. So you can see, if I take the Allen key out, I've screwed it all the way in, and it's pretty much level. I mean, I could back it off just a touch, just because, but I don't think it's going to matter at this point, but we'll see. It's close enough. So you see there, it's pretty much right where it needs to be. So once that is done, you can see that we're going to need to put all of these parts into here. Now you can also see that they want you to grease up this plastic part. Now I'm going to see if I've got enough grease in here that this is going to work, because if you remember, we did use quite a bit of it. So I got to make sure that it is the correct way. And let's grease it all up. Again, this might not be so easy, but oh, there we go. There's so I'm going to grease up all of the sides here. A little bit more out of that, but not much. Now, you can see that in terms of the positioning, this is going to sit in. If you take a look at that, it's got to fit into the grooves. So I can sit that right like that, and it's just going to fall, well, I guess with the grease it probably won't, but it will slide all the way in. Then you take your spring We're going to put that inside there. It's going to look just like that. Then you take the end cap. Now, be careful. Make sure that you put this on the right way. I was looking at this over and over just to see, well, which way is the correct way of attaching it. And you'll notice here, you can see that it's an open hole, but there's also, if you see on the end of this, there's a very small little ridge, which basically is letting you know that that side right there that sticks out is facing inward. So that's going to sit like that and fit into the grooves as well. There we go. So ultimately it's going to look like that. Then we take this piece and it's going to fit over top just like that, and we screw it in. Now you can see how this is going to work, because with the Allen key, notice that the grub screw is facing inward. So when you screw it in more, it's going to push that spring inside inward. So that's how it's adjusting the tension. So knowing that that's correct, and you can see in terms of the positioning, if we turn this around, it's not gonna, it doesn't even match up with the screw holes. So you can see that the way that's gonna sit, it's got to sit like that. And we can now take our tapping screws and we're going to attach it. So I'll just start that one. Then we'll get this one. And we'll screw that in place. And make sure it's all the way down. There we go. So there we go. And you see, actually it's very noticeable. This already has tension. So when I'm pushing up, it's wanting to spring back. So now that it's on, there's only one last thing to do. You can see here in the instructions, it says screw in 3.5 turns. In other words, now that the grub screw is in this piece, all the parts are together, now they want you to do the tensioning. So if we're going to say 3.5 turns, that means we're going to go 1, let's say, 2, and I realize this isn't perfect, 3, and let's do like a half or something. And you can tell that this has quite a bit more tension. Now, I didn't do a full 3.5. I probably did, you know, it was almost like I was doing 3 half turns plus a half. Well, maybe I didn't do the extra half. Let's do the extra half. Why not? Take that and turn it back. So I can tell that there's actually a lot of tension on this now. It really wants to pop back. If I could snap it back. So it really wants to spring back now. But I think for me, I'm going to leave it as that. So this step is finished. Very, very cool. I love this design. It's kind of cool. So step 4 is complete. So we're going to move on to step 5 now and work on the rear axles.